Oh shit! Yeah, that's supposed to
If you
be
don't like boring
12.
news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.
Welcome back to the Robert and Crew Show. As always, I'm your host, Robert.
And I'm the co-host Crew.
And I'm Julie.
How is everybody doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Doing good.
And you're doing good? Yeah, that's awesome. I'm doing all right too. So, Crew, what are we talking about tonight?
Okay, so we've talked about this book a lot in different episodes. We never actually did an episode on it, so we're actually finally getting out of the way. We're only doing one episode. We're not going to do multiple parts on this book because this book is too long with how many chapters there are. And it's so complex and so hard to comprehend and understand. The Book of Enoch.
Okay, which is actually the Book of Enoch is actually what, 4 books?
5.
5.
5 books in
Yeah,
one.
you got the Book of the Watchers, Book of the Parables, Astronomical Book, Book of Dreams and Visions, and then the Book of Epistle of Enoch.
Mhm.
Cool.
Or no, the 4th book is the Dream. Or no, the 3rd book is the Dream Visions, not the Book of Dreams.
Well, from what I'm looking at, the 3rd book is the astronomical book. The
That would be the
4th
4th
book is the
book.
Book of Dreams and Visions, and then the
No,
5th
hold
book
on,
is
hold
the
on.
Epistle of Enoch.
So it goes.
The
No,
Watchers is the
right. You're
Parables
right.
is the
My bad. You're right. My
yeah.
bad. I had to scroll through. You're right.
How do I know more about this than you? And I don't even know that much about the Book of Enoch.
It's confusing. This book is so confusing, dude. I've only read it once,
I'm just messing with you, brother.
and my brain about fried reading it. Is how
But
complex it is.
the Book of Enoch is basically the evidence of the book. Basically influences New Testament ideas such as the Messiah and demonology. It's quoted in like the Epistle of Jude. Some viewing it inspired, as others like think it's completely fraudulent and not real at all. So, where do you stand with the Book of Enoch? Do you think it's real scripture, or do you think it was fraudulently made up?
It's okay. So if it was fraudulent, then why was Noah and the flood mentioned in it? Why is angels mentioned in it? Why is the Watchers mentioned in it? If it's so fraudulent, why has one of the books found by the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Well, the Book of Enoch states that Enoch was the great grandfather of Noah. Is that what you're talking about, basically? Like he was the great grandfather of Noah and is an ancient Jewish text not included in the chronological Bible for most Jewish and Christian traditions,
And he
except
is
for the
yep,
Ethiopian Orthodox and the Eritrean Orthodox churches.
and he's the great
So
grandson of Adam.
they have the book in their Bibles. So the Ethiopian churches have the Book of Enoch Bibles.
That
But
is
it
correct.
basically reflects on a period of the Second Temple of Judaism, right? And it's basically known as the first Enoch. And it was originally found among the Dead Sea Scrolls and in Greek in different translations of Bibles, indicating widespread historical use throughout the ages. So the Book of Enoch was not only found just in the Dead Sea Scrolls; it was also found within Greek translations of different books. They found the Book of Enoch before they found it in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They found it in Greek translations of the Bible.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty interesting. That like if it's fraudulent, then how was it? How did so many different people already have it and translate it before the supposed people that came out and said it was fraudulent said it was fraudulent? It was already in multiple different things.
Well, that's a question that I think Grok could answer for us real quick.
What makes the Book of Enoch fraudulent?
Yeah.
What makes the Book of Enoch fraudulent to most Bible scholars?
Most Bible scholars consider the Book of Enoch fraudulent because it was written centuries after the Old Testament, likely between 200 BC and 100 AD, and isn't included in the canonical Hebrew Bible. They also argue it contains ideas that don't align with main Jewish and Christian teachings, like detailed descriptions of fallen angels, that seem more legendary than historical.
But that's an opinion. That's their opinion, though. You can't say a book is fraudulent when you're opinionated. That's what this is my problem with a lot of Bible scholars. Okay, they're very opinionated when it comes to certain texts.
Right.
You have different religious sectors. You got the Baptists, you got the Lutherans, you got the Catholics, you got all these. You got those in different sectors, and they're all opinionated on their beliefs. And the fact that they say it's fraudulent, then what? Then they need to figure out why was it found with the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's my problem about it.
Grok, if the Book of Enoch was fraudulent, then why was there a direct connection to the Book of Enoch with the Dead Sea Scrolls and other Greek translations?
The Book of Enoch's connection to the Dead Sea Scrolls in Greek translations doesn't necessarily mean it's authentic. It just shows it was influential and widely copied in ancient times. Parts of it were found among the scrolls, suggesting some early Jewish groups valued it, but that doesn't prove its historical accuracy.
So why do you think it was kept in the Dead Sea Scrolls then?
Probably because the people who wrote and collected the Dead Sea Scrolls saw it as important or spiritual significant, even if it wasn't officially scripture. It was popular in some Jewish and early Christian circles back then.
What circles of Judaism and Christianity kept it close to the heart?
The Essenes who were behind the Dead Sea Scrolls really valued it, and some early Christian groups, like those in Ethiopia, also held it dear. It was big in apocalyptic and mystical circles too.
So there you go. They say that it's fraudulent because just because it was added or just because they found it with the Dead Sea Scrolls doesn't mean it's not fraudulent. It means it was cherished to a certain group that wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, which was the Essaians or I forget how she said that, but the Essaians or whatever, and then the Ethiopian groups too.
Well, I'm going to read this real quick. Okay, let's see. If I can find it.
Book of Enoch.
All right, here we go. Summarizing each chapter of the Book of Enoch. And then after I read these two parts, I'm going to actually explain further detail and more summary of each book. Is a big task, but I'll give you a quick rundown based on what out there. The book's divided into sections, like the Book of Watchers, which covers chapters 1 through 36, and those Enoch talks about angels called watchers who fell from heaven, married human women, and had giant kids called Nephilim,
And wait,
causing
before we go any further, where in the world in these episodes have we heard and talked about the Watchers?
we've talked about the watchers a lot in Terra Infinita.
So, in Terra Infinita obviously incorporates themes from the Book of Enoch, or the Book of Enoch obviously includes themes from Terra Infinita. You decide.
Yeah, that's a
Just find
good
it pretty
observation there, Robert. Very good observation.
Makes it very interesting.
So basically, causing chaos until God steps in. There's there's the book of parables, chapters 37 through 30 or 81, or no, 37 through 71, where Enoch has visions about the Son of Man, Judgment Day, and the fate of the righteous and wicked. It's pretty intense. The next part, the astronomical book, chapters 72 through 82, dives into how the heavens and seasons work, with Enoch getting cosmic lessons from angels. After that, the dream visions,
So
chapters.
wait. So angels, ain't like multiple angels, whether they were, these weren't fallen angels, these were biblical angels that were still like heaven bound, that were teaching Enoch things. They were coming down to Enoch and teaching him the ways of like the heavens.
That would be Archangel Uriel, who was.
So wait, they are archangels, archangels, because some of the archangels were fallen.
Archangel Uriel was the main one who was teaching Enoch the astronomy. I don't know if it goes into detail more than one. I don't remember because it's been so long since I
You had
read the book.
Michael, you had Gabriel, you had
Michael.
yeah, well, I said Michael. Michael was the first one.
Oh.
I said Archangel Michael and Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Uriel and Archangel. There's another one that I'm not remembering right now. Sorry, but anyways, go on. So these angels taught, or specifically Uriel taught Enoch things, correct? Okay.
So basically, he learns about cosmic lessons from Uriel more. It could have been more than Uriel that taught him, but the only one that I really only remember is Uriel. But after that, the dream visions, chapter 83 to 90, include Enoch's dreams about history and future events, like symbolic view of human and divine history ending in judgment. Finally, the Epistle of Enoch, chapters 91 to 105, warns sinners and promises blessings for the righteous, ending with a hopeful note for the upright. There's also a fragment called the Noah section, but it's less clear. Each part builds on themes of divine judgment, wisdom, and cosmic order.
Well, because supposedly Enoch is the great grandfather of Noah.
Yeah. And then I'm going to read some more of this real quick. A little bit more of the summary before I go into actual each chapter. So back to here's some more brief of each chapter. Book of Enoch, Book of Watchers, chapters 1 to 36, covers fallen angels called Watchers who descended to earth, marry human women, and have giant offspring called Nephilim, causing corruption until God sends judgment like floods and fire. And Enoch gets visions of heaven and hell. Next, the Book of Parables, chapters 37 to 71, has Enoch's visions about the Son of Man who judges the wicked and rewards the righteous, with detailed descriptions of heavenly realms and the final judgment.
Seven, right? There's
Yeah.
7 realms, right? Correct? The 7 realms of heaven.
10.
10 or 7?
There's 10.
Okay.
Then let's see here. Let's see. Okay. The astronomical book, chapter 72 to 82, focuses on how the heavens work. Enoch learns about the sun, moon, stars, and seasons from angels explaining the calendar and cosmic order. After that, the dream visions. Chapters 83 to 90 include Enoch's dreams showing history as animals from the fall to the flood, and future events like judgment
Wait,
and New
wait. So,
Jerusalem.
so, so Enoch saw the past and the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So the visions were basically God was allowing Enoch to time travel through time and see some of those pivotal events. And
Well, not time travel, more like he was given a vision, right?
yeah, but if you're given a vision of something that's going to happen in the future, that's time travel, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, I can see where you're coming with that general view.
It doesn't have to
Point on
be
that.
woohoo time travel with a machine. I mean, if God comes to you and shows you a vision of what's to happen in the future, and then it happens, and either A, you're alive for it, or you're not alive for it, but it still happens and you recorded that down in a book, either that's an extreme coincidence or you had a time traveling vision. You know what also it reminds me of is it reminds me of remote viewing.
Yeah.
Some people claim that they can remote view the past. Can you believe that? That's crazy. That's like time traveling to the past, is knowing, like, being able to see a picture and then thinking about that picture really hard and meditating on it, and then being able to actually go to that place in time and remote view the surroundings and hear what's going on around you, because that memory is a frequency. And if you can match the frequency, you can go to that memory. How crazy. Like, if that's true, I mean, you hear more about this stuff all the time, and I feel like Enoch having these visions is basically like, you know how God showed himself in the burning bush to Moses, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like they all have these visions. And I don't mean that as in like they're not having visions, but like something is they're doing something. Whether it's praying so hard they're traveling through time and space, or they're praying and connecting with the Almighty directly because of the frequency that they can hit. Like, the more I think about it, I think that like the only way to be connected to God is to be connected by frequency.
Yep.
I feel like that's
But
what Enoch is doing.
yeah, but after it says like judgment and then a New Jerusalem, it says all in symbolic form. Finally, the Epistle of Enoch, chapters 91 to 105 warns sinners about coming judgment and encourages the righteous with promises of eternal life, ending with blessings and call to wisdom. There's also a short Noah section, but it's fragmentary, which means like in fragments, and mostly about Noah's birth and the flood's purpose. Now I'm going to go ahead and get into a summary of the Book of Watchers.
Wait, so was Enoch alive when Noah was born?
No,
No, okay.
I don't believe he was.
I'm gonna figure that out.
Okay.
I got this real quick because I'm interested now. Was Enoch alive when Noah was born biblically?
No, Enoch was taken by God before Noah was born, so he wasn't around. It's one of those mysteries in the Bible.
And Enoch was 100% the great grandfather of Noah, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Enoch was Noah's great grandfather. It's all in the lineage in Genesis.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else on your mind?
All right. So there you go. Enoch was already taken by God, and yes, Enoch was 100% Noah's great grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, God took Enoch.
Yep.
And
And
it's
and
very
Enoch
clear
didn't
about
die.
that.
Enoch didn't
He
die.
didn't die.
He was actually taken alive.
Yeah.
You're right.
God reached out to him from the heavens. Enoch went onto his hand, and God just raised him up into heaven.
Yes.
Right.
And that's biblical.
Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Book of the Watchers, chapters 1 to 36. It starts with Enoch praising God and warning of coming judgment. In chapters 1 through 5, setting the tone with visions of divine power. Chapters 6 to 11 detail how 200 watchers, led by Simjaza and Azazel, fall from heaven.
It's Simyaza and Azazel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fall from heaven and marry human women and teach them forbidden knowledge like magic and weapon making, leading to giant Nephilim who wreak havoc. God sends angels in chapters 12 to 16 to punish the watchers, binding them into darkness, while Enoch is chosen to deliver his message. Chapters 17 to 36 describe Enoch's tours of earth and the underworld, guiding by angels, where he sees places of punishment for the fallen angels, the ends of the earth, and heavenly realms, given a vivid picture of cosmic geography and divine justice. It's intense and packed with apocalyptic imagery. So that's the Book of the Watchers.
Okay. And as we said, watchers are mentioned in other things, and that's what's crazy about how like the connections to like the Terra Infinita and the flat Earth dome theory and the 174 dome worlds or 178 dome worlds, however it is. The fact that their main enemy to all of the groups in that entire dome land and dome world is called the Watchers is kind of biblical to me, and it makes sense. So if
here's
that's
the funny.
true, couldn't have God have taken Enoch to another dome world instead of actually taking him off the planet? Like if Terra Infinita works into the Bible at all, which technically it would, when inside of the Bible it literally states that we live under a dome, under a firmament.
Yeah. And here's something that I am going to bring up. Antarctica, real quick. Some say that's where all the 200 fallen angels are. Antarctica.
Well, I've heard recently that the reason why we're not allowed to go to Antarctica isn't because of flat Earth and that crap. It's actually because Antarctica holds the Garden of Eden. That's what I've
Hmm.
heard, and
Interesting.
that's why all of the governments of the world have a treaty that nobody's allowed to mine or destroy Antarctica because that's literally the birthplace of man, supposedly. Like, it's frozen over because we're not allowed to enter the Garden of Eden. No human is allowed to enter the garden. And that's because humans fudged up. We went against the word of God and we ate the fruit. So the
Yeah.
garden got sealed. That's what Antarctica is supposedly. That's what some people believe, and then other people, of course, believe that Antarctica is not a continent or a garden, and that it's a giant ice wall that actually surrounds the Earth and holds all of the water level, which also is a crazy rabbit hole theory that I love diving deep into because
So have I.
because dome theory is just awesome. Like, I don't care. Like, call me a flirter. I don't give a fuck. I love the fact that we might be being lied to and the earth might be flat. Regardless if it's true or not, it would be crazy. If we found out later on that the government made everybody believe the earth was round and it was flat the entire time, that would be hilarious. I would laugh at everybody.
Yeah.
I would think it was the funniest freaking thing in the world. And I feel like there's people on both sides that try to quote biblically that the earth is flat because of what the Bible talks about with the earth. How the Bible specifically says we live in a dome world. It literally says we have a firmament above us, and there are waters above the glass dome firmament that basically it's really weird wording, but it's to the point of like Warner von Braun, the famous Nazi scientist, who came up here and helped out with creating rockets or whatever to supposedly get man to the moon. Warner von Braun had on his gravestone the Psalm number that quoted the firmament. What was the best rocket scientist in the world who was also a Nazi having the firmament quoted on his gravestone for? Why'd he do that? Was he
Right.
trolling the world or was he telling the world you can't leave? We
He
can't
was
leave the
probably
planet.
telling people they can't leave because you can't leave.
Yeah,
It's
and it's just weird. The top world's rocket scientist ever, who yes was a Nazi too, and is horrible, but he knew he either trolled the entire world or he knew for a fact that there's a firmament we can't leave. And every day I start to like think about it and I'm like, that would be so crazy, but it would make so much sense. Because if we were ever able to prove the firmament, then religion becomes 100% real. God's real at that point. The Bible's 100% real at that point because the first thing in the Bible talks about the firmament. When God created
Yeah.
the earth, the heavens, and everything in the 7 days,
yep.
it's all talked about. So if it's true, like, and what I believe more and more every day is that science was made to hide God. Science works with God, but it also covers God up. Look, we're not divine if we evolved. If we evolved from fish like they tell us, then we're not divine creatures of God. So evolution is there literally to disprove God. If you believe in any kind of evolution, you believe that God is not real, that creationism is a lie. That's what's
True.
crazy.
Yeah.
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 And we're
Now,
all taught.
hey, thinking
We're all
of
taught in school. What's up, Julie?
Okay. Thinking of Enoch, it's a theory, or I don't know if it's a theory, but people have said that he could be one of the two witnesses that comes back in the end times to witness to the people. I don't know. Crew could probably back that up.
You're on something, Julie, and I've heard that too. You're absolutely right. He is supposed to be one of the witnesses to watch Jesus come back. You're absolutely correct.
And that's always been interesting.
Yeah.
And, makes you wonder who else. If it could be Moses and Enoch, I don't know. It just doesn't say exactly. But from what I've read and stuff, it points kind of to Enoch a little bit, though. I don't
Yeah.
know how to explain it.
Well,
See, but another thing is though, guys, is if both of you really think that's going to happen with Enoch, then both of you side with me right now when I tell you that we're in the little season of Satan. We're not in. We're not where you originally wanted me to think we are. They already went through everything, and that's literally what the Book of Enoch states: is that this is the little season of Satan. So I just want to let you know that, crew. That means you're flipping your beliefs and you're siding with me. And I don't even necessarily believe in the Book of Enoch, but I'll tell you, the Book of Enoch believes that's the little season of Satan.
all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ask this question real quick and see if it gives me the answer. All right. So, okay, hold on. The concept of the two witnesses is rooted in the book of Revelation, specifically Revelations 11, uh, chapter 11, 3 through 14. According to this biblical passage, the two witnesses are two prophets who will prophesy and bear witness to the truth of God during the end times, specifically during the tribulation period. Key points about the two witnesses. Identity. The Bible doesn't specify who the two witnesses are, but various interpretations suggest that they could be Enoch and Elijah, Moses and Elijah, or other prominent biblical figures. Mission. They are tasked with prophesying and warning people to repent during the period of the great apostasy and tribulation. Powers. The two witnesses have the power to perform miracles such as causing droughts, during water, turning water into blood, and summoning fire from heaven. Fate. They will be killed by the Antichrist and lie in the street for 3.5 days before being resurrected and ascending into heaven. The two witnesses are often seen as a symbol of hope and a call to repentance before the second coming of Jesus Christ. The role is to testify to the truth of God and warn people of the consequences of rejecting Him.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
So no, I guess I'm wrong. It doesn't have a direct connection to the little season. I'm wrong about that with Enoch, but there are theories behind it, behind all of it going to all back to the temple's destruction, followed by a 1,000-year reign. That was compared to a Gnostic and New Age distortion, isolating believers and contradicting scriptures like Revelation 1:7 and Matthew 24:27, which describes Christ's visible return. But has nothing about Enoch in the little season. So I'm wrong. That's all right. I'm wrong quite a bit, but I can admit when I'm wrong.
That's a good thing.
All right, the Book of Parables, chapters 37 to 71.
Hey Julie, how are you tonight? Or not Julie, JD.
Hey, JD.
Hey.
Hi
It's
Julie, how
all
are
about
you tonight, Julie?
it's,
Having a
it's
good
all
night, Julie?
about Enoch's visions of the future in divine judgment. It kicks off in chapters 37 to 44 with Enoch seeing the elect one and Son of Man, figures who judge the wicked and rule the righteous, alongside angels revealing secrets of the cosmos like thunder and lightning. Chapter 45 to 57 expand on the judgment with the Son of Man, destroying sinners, rewarding the righteous, and even resurrecting the dead, painting a picture of a final reckoning. Then chapters 58 to 71 shift to more heavenly scenes where Enoch meets ancient figures like Noah and sees the divine throne with emphasis on eternal life for the just and punishment for the fallen angels and kings who oppressed people in heavy or messianic and apocalyptic themes, really focusing on hope and justice. You're onto something, JD. You are onto something.
So so then what is your main thought on what is going to happen when all of it takes place in Revelations? Do you think that it's going to play out exactly the way that it's said, or do you think that we're in a different timeline entirely?
I believe it's going to take place exactly how the Bible says.
And I
Okay.
agree.
I don't know when exactly, doesn't specifically say what the date or time or place. Yeah. But everything that Revelations talks about um is all basically a vision that was given, being showed of everything that was going to happen in the end times. And yes, we are in the end times because things that have been happening has been described in the Bible in Revelations, but it's slowly going exactly how the Bible of Revelations depicted and said would happen.
What's the main reason why you believe we're in the end times?
Okay, well, for one, the Euphrates River drying up. That's talked about in Revelations.
Okay.
Then it talks about many false. It talks about a false prophet. It doesn't specifically say one false prophet. It says a false prophet. But we've had many false prophets over the years.
Yeah.
Then it talks about things that would happen over the years, and those things are happening.
Like what? Like what things?
Well, for one, it like what I okay, so like the mark, the beast, that's coming into effect supposedly.
I think that's already
uh,
here. It's
it,
right here. It's
well,
literally right.
hold on. No.
Yeah.
The mark of the beast is
Yes.
not a phone. The mark of the
I
beast
believe
is what,
this,
Julie?
bro. This thing tracks you. It connects you to everything. It literally keeps you in touch with everybody. You can call somebody from a mile away. You can trade money from a click of a button. Pretty soon you're going to be able to use central digital currency on it. It's no longer going to be a microchip put inside of you. Why would they have to put a microchip inside of you when they literally just give you one of these and you willingly take it? You willingly take this and you put it in your pocket every day, follows you around wherever you go. This is the mark. This
Well,
is. We already willingly
the
accepted it.
mark of the beast would have 666 on it.
Dude, do you even understand what you're talking about here? Like the mark of the beast would not be that. It's not going to be that easy to find. It's not going to say 666. This is the beast right here. No, it's not how it is. Literally, as soon as central digital currency comes out, that's the mark of the beast, and it's going to be
Hold on.
accessible on
I'm
your
gonna read
phone.
what it says. What the mark of the beast is, real quick. Hold on. The mark is described as a number, 666, which is often interpreted as symbolic and literal identifier. Purpose: the mark is said to be a requirement for economic and social
Mhm.
participation,
There you
and those
go.
who refuse to take it will face severe consequences. Association with the
And
Antichrist. The mark is associated with the Antichrist figure who oppose God and seeks to deceive humanity.
you're only
Spiritual.
making my argument stronger.
Hold on.
You're not putting
Hold
my
on.
argument at
No.
all.
Okay. The mark is supposed to be either on your hand or on your head.
Guess what? Hand, head.
That
Think
kind of
about it.
makes sense a little bit.
Think about it.
The
You
mark is
already
said to
have
be
this
on
in
the
your
right
hand.
hand or head, forehead. The phone is a step to the mark. So yeah, you have a point, but at the same time, it's supposed to be like a tattoo
It doesn't
as
have to
well.
be. It's not going to be. It's literally not going to be. They don't have to. Why would they literally they don't have to mark you like that anymore. You willingly take a phone and put it in your pocket. You willingly do it. Nobody had to ask you to do it. You willingly did it. It's ingenious. And guess what? In the next couple of years, all of your money is going to be connected to that phone because it's no longer going to be paper money, and it's already proven. We're going to go to a
Yeah,
central
I mean,
digital
they're already
currency.
taking away the penny.
And then guess what? Once we get to a central digital currency, if they don't like the way you're acting or talking or being, they can turn your money off. They can turn everything off. You won't be able to eat. You won't be able to pay your bills. You'll be blacklisted everywhere if you do something that they don't like. Your
Yeah.
phone is, in my personal opinion, the phone is the mark of the beast. They are laughing at us because we willingly took it. They didn't have to trick anybody into getting it. The RFID chips are scary because yeah, they can go under your skin or whatever, and that's what originally everybody thought was going to be the mark of the beast. But another fun fact for you: we all already carry RFID chips on us willingly every day. It's called your credit card or your debit card or your personal ID. They all have RFID chips in them. Once
Yeah.
again, why would they put them in your body when you willingly walk around with them every day? They don't have to anymore. They don't have to put them in your body anymore. You willingly walk around with it.
Yeah. Now
Like I
another
know it sounds
sign
great.
is,
What's up, Julie?
I was going to say, the other signs are the weather. They said there could be earthquakes and other weather issues come up, and it would be in places that normally wouldn't be. And then there's the fires. that have been going on for the past year.
Yeah. And all these tsunamis, earthquakes, and fires, and all of it.
Yeah.
But anyways, the astronomical book from the Book of Enoch is the third part, chapters 72 to 82, where Enoch gets cosmic lessons from the Archangel Uriel about the sun, moon, and stars. Pretty wild stuff, right? It's not in the standard Bible, but was found in places like the Dead Sea Scrolls and Ethiopia. The astronomical book in the Book of Enoch is detailed guide on how the heavens work, like the path of the sun and moon, the seasons, and even some meteorology. It's written in a mythical style, claiming Enoch received it from Uriel, and it was super influential in ancient Jewish and early Christian thought. Though it's not in most modern Bibles, you can find translations like or in books about a prophetical text dives deep into how the cosmos operates, describing the sun and moon's movements, 12 gates they pass through, and how they affect the seasons and time. It got this poetic, almost scientific vibe, laying out a 364-day year with extra days to keep things aligned. And it even talks about winds, weather, and stars. Uriel explains to all Enoch as a divine revelation, emphasizing order in the universe. It was a big deal for ancient views on astronomy and influenced later religious and scientific thought, even if it's not in the mainstream Bible today.
Right. Well, it's because the mainstream Bible, it was kept out of the mainstream Bible.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think is the most compelling evidence for the Book of Enoch?
I'd say the Book of Watchers. That part.
I don't know. I think the more we rely on technology, the more we've already accepted it. And that's for the entire nation. It's not just for us, it's for the entire world. The more we rely on technology, the more you give them power, the more they're able to take from you. At this point, I don't think it's a because that's what people say about Neuralink, about Elon Musk's Neuralink, about how he put that thing in that person's head, whatever, to help that paraplegic, and now he can do whatever he wants to do. But people have been talking about how that's the mark of the beast. You're literally putting that inside of your body, and you can't remove it. But the thing is not everybody's going to need a Neuralink. Not everybody's going to put an RFID chip in their hand. Do people do it? Sure. But I don't think that's the mark of the beast either. Putting an RFID chip in your hand to pay for your food at Walmart and freak everybody out and scan your hand and your stuff's just paid for. Have you seen those videos on TikTok? The people that already
Yeah.
have RFID
Well,
chips and
not
they go to pay
recently, but
for it. Yeah, and they just scan their hand over a register and boom, it's paid for. And the cashier ladies look at them like, how the heck did you do that? And they're like, oh yeah, all of my information's literally inside of my wrist.
yeah, and they're even scanning your head. I think in Japan, or is it in
Yeah.
China?
Yep. Your forehead. Your literal
Yeah,
forehead. Yep. Which boom, mark of the beast, right? Your
I
literal
mean,
forehead. Or
it's
your hand.
crazy.
which is RFID chips. They're put into your hands or your forehead. And Neuralink could be your forehead too. So personally, that's still technology. That's legitimately still technology. That's nothing that's so close to a phone, it's stupid. Like for instance, Neuralink would help you call somebody. You can literally call somebody inside of your head basically once it gets good enough.
Wow.
So I don't
Crazy
know,
stuff,
like
isn't it?
yeah, it's going to be a direct connection to the internet via your mind eventually. That's not what it is right now. Besides Neuralink, like Neuralink has some direct connection to the internet, but it's really the only one. RFID chips have direct connection to the internet, but because it's for one thing and one thing only, is basically accessing your bank accounts and your ID. Because that's what they're all doing now is they're trying to technologically push everybody into always carrying your ID on you and
Yeah.
always having all your information. And right now in America, instead of doing RFID chips in your hands and in your foreheads, what they're doing is they're putting it all onto an app on the phone. And that's where all your money, your ID, and everything is going to be is literally on your phone. You're going to be able to carry that everywhere with you. That's the same exact thing that everybody else is doing. We're just doing it through the phone.
Yeah.
But
At
there's
least I don't
companies out
have my stuff. I
there's,
don't
there's
have my
companies out there
banking information on there.
on what your phone.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying you probably some people already have banking information on their phone, but that's because they have online banking, like me. Like I can move money from my accounts via being on the internet. Same thing with Crew. I'm sure he can do that too. Uh, but the thing is with like the what I'm talking about is CDC, so like central digital currency. That's when basically the government has control of your money. And like you're going to have no way to access your money but your phone. And literally you're going to scan your phone at places now. You're not going to have credit or debit cards. They basically already do this in China. Like it's already being done in China in certain places where you have to pay with everything on your phone. You don't have a choice anymore. Like it's have a phone or you don't get to spend money.
Yep.
But the crazy thing is like if you like jaywalk in China, they can scan your phone and they can scan it from a camera that they have posted up on the side of the street, and they can also get your face and use facial recognition, then ticket you and immediately take the money right out of your account.
Right.
Do you know how scary that is?
That's
For them
very
to
scary.
literally be like, oh, you jaywalked and now we're gonna fine you $35. Boom, it's taken out of your account instantaneously. You didn't get to have a day in court or nothing. You just lost your freaking money no matter what.
Mhm.
I guess you
Yeah.
learn to not jaywalk real fast, right? Because you don't
Yeah,
want to lose
that's
money every time you jaywalk.
exploring with Josh shared that one time.
Maybe 10% of our brain. Who knows the rest of the future holds? And JD said, which would be why you have it to be ABKE to buy. There will be no actual checkouts, no way to steal anymore. And Elm Street said, I remember if you're a certain debt in China becomes public knowledge. And GD said the system also goes against the original Christian people. Everyone shared and supported the church with good and items of needs, no paying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now, like, society is strictly ran on this monetary system, and these groups like China and these other, like, I'm sure it's going to start happening everywhere. It's not just going to be China here. I'm thinking the next 20 years, most like most countries that are oppressive are going to have some form of facial recognition and CDC, central digital currency. As much as that sucks.
Yeah.
Right. But anyways, the dream visions. Chapters
And the Medici who
83.
became popes were also the founders that distributed banking systems.
But yeah, chapters 83 to 90 in the Book of Enoch are all about symbolic dreams. Enoch has that show history and future events. In chapters 83 to 84, he recounts a dream of a great flood destroying the earth, warning of divine judgment with his pleas to God for mercy. Then chapters 85 to 90 use animal imagery. Humans are bulls, angels are stars, and fallen angels are black bulls. Tracing from creation through the wall, or to the fall of the Watchers, the flood, and Israel's history up to the author's time. Like a compressed biblical history, it, it ends with a vision of judgment where the wicked are destroyed, the righteous are saved, and a new Jerusalem rises, all wrapped in hope for God's ultimate plan. It's like a
So
coded history lesson with a future twist.
so he saw so what he saw the great flood, or what did he see? Like, I'm confused here.
Yes,
Like,
he saw the great flood.
okay, so Enoch claimed to have seen the great flood.
Yes.
And JD said if you want to prepare against the beast system, you have to learn how to grow food and make what's needed and share with the community. And and Elm Street said Medici was the Rothschild of the 17th century, and they became kings, popes, and dukes around the globe, and etc. And Elm Street also said always loved a flood story. So with Enoch, he saw visions, and I think that's where a lot of the Christian beliefs that say it's fraudulent have problems with the story.
Well,
Correct?
here's the
Am I
thing.
correct
Here's
in
the
saying
thing.
that?
Hold on. I'll explain real quick. He's not the only one in the Bible who's had visions.
For sure.
So,
And totally true, Elm Street. The flood stories in a ton of different cultures and places.
mhm, yeah. Now, with Enoch not being the only one who's had visions, many others who are in the Bible who's had visions have seen historical things happening, like Revelations. Everything in Revelations is all a vision of what's happening around our time, or has happened before us.
Right.
So basically, we can't account visions being fraudulent. We can't account that part because
But that's what they say. Is most sects Christianity claim that the Book of Enoch is fraudulent.
right,
They do not personally believe the book has any is not relevant at all to Christianity or the story of the Bible itself. Which, I mean, obviously, if you read the Book of Enoch, like, and it's also found in places like the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's hard to be like, okay, for sure that's fraudulent. It's kind of weird that it's in certain books and not in other books, and why they would immediately consider it fraudulent just because it was found in places like Ethiopia or in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like, we hold other parts of the Dead Sea Scrolls like all the way up to biblical standards, but when it comes to the Book of Enoch, like, we can't hold that up to biblical standards, but it's in the Dead Sea Scrolls and everything else is biblical standard. It doesn't make very much sense.
Thank you. That's what I've been saying for a long time. And people want to argue with me saying, "Oh no, it's not biblical. It's all fraudulent." It's
But how is that the only part of the Dead Sea Scrolls that is fraudulent? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, like, okay, well, if it's fraudulent, then why is Enoch taken by God alive? And he's mentioned in the Bible. So if he's mentioned in the Bible, one part of the Bible, well, in Genesis, right? How come his book is not in the Bible, but all the others who are in the Bible get to be in the Bible, but Enoch?
Well, that's what I was
Enoch
kind
was
of
mentioned a couple of times. He's mentioned in Hebrews also.
Okay, that part I did forget. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
But yes,
it comes down to the mystery of our conscious and subconscious and where it comes from. All honesty, that's always going to be a tough question without putting some almighty force into the equation. And then JD said, I think Enoch is just unsure of reliability. Unlike the rest of the text of the Bible, it hasn't been copied in historic Bibles as much as all the others, which is correct.
yeah.
It's seen more in the Ethiopian sects of Christianity, as weird as that is. Ethiopians really consider that a canon part of the Bible. They follow the Book of Enoch. They actually really truly do believe it. It's one of the main things that they study and go off on. So yeah, and JD then says that Jesus even said things that were very similar to the text from Enoch.
She has a point there. She does have a point there.
Yeah, so I do agree. Like I find it very weird that like certain sects of Christianity would believe it and then other sects would not. But I mean it makes sense, right? Because you guys said that the Catholics at times have also embraced the Book of Enoch, but we see it more along the lines in these cusps of Ethiopian tribes and churches that really hold it close to their hearts. So
It comes
it's interesting.
it comes down to this. Each sector has their own beliefs. They follow specific parts of the Bible. They don't follow other parts that are mentioned in the Bible because they are so hot-headed on their beliefs.
For sure. And Elm Street says, surely ideas and visions are planted by something, that being God. I don't know. So I personally believe that there's something in this world that is energy driven, that is connected to all of us. And I think that is what we consider our soul. And I think what people want to believe, where your soul goes after you go, is your own right to believe whatever you want. But I think that's really what it comes down to, is that energy has to go somewhere. So whether or not you call it God, I think that soul energy still has to go back to either its creator or its next step in life. Because I don't believe death is the end. I think death is only a new beginning.
Well, it's like this. Okay, so
JD
go
said, I
back
think
to
Enoch should have been taken as very possible, but not sure if all is true or even accurate.
but yes, it's like this though. Um, I'm gonna use an example that we used before. Uh, Mormons, right? They believe Jesus is gonna walk down this structure in Independence, Missouri.
Right, which is super weird, but yes,
Right.
you're right.
And like every when I say every sector of different religions and Christianity believe in certain things and they don't follow other things, it's because they're so hot-headed because that's how they were raised in that specific sector of Christianity. And
Well, it's like we talked about the other day, man. It's like we talked about the other day, is that a lot of these religions not saying all of them, but a lot of them were started in culty ways. Like straight up somebody was like, "Oh, hey, if I tell a whole bunch of people that I talked to God and that God wanted me to do this, wink wink Joseph." Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He just
Yeah.
told a group of people, "Hey, God's speaking to me," and then a cult was born, and then after that, I mean, different sects of Mormonism broke off from it. So, is Mormonism a cult? No, we already went over this in one of our episodes earlier, but it did stem from a cult-like bring up. So, and that what was his name? Joseph
Smith.
Smith. Yeah, Joseph Smith. He was the one who told everybody I have a direct connection to God and wrote the Book of Mormon. So I think a lot of these religions have their own views.
Yeah.
Elm Street says, I think of something like the floating man hypothesis. Imagine a man created out of thin air, floating in a void, with no sensory input, no sight, hearing, touch, etc. He's completely isolated from any external or internal physical contact. Would this man know he even exists? That's a very interesting question. And
Yeah,
I
that
think
is.
like that comes down to like babies in like the womb at like a certain age or at a certain like weak point when the heart is developing and the brain is developing and like they can technically have like a thought or like a vision. Does that baby know it's alive at that point when it's only developing? I don't know, maybe. It's very interesting because if you take a man and you completely isolate him, like he's saying, and leave him without touch, feeling, or pain or anything, just leave them to a thought. Like they don't even know language yet. Nothing. And they're just isolated by themselves. Do they even know they're alive?
Exactly.
Like that's one of the craziest questions I've ever been asked. Thank you, Elm Street. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. I love it.
All right. The Epistle of Enoch, chapters 91 to 105, is a stern warning and encouragement from
For
Enoch.
sure it is.
In chapters 91 to 93, he outlines a series of weeks or periods of history predicting sin, judgment, and eventual righteousness, given a timeline of divine plans. Chapters 94 to 104 hammer and warning to sinners, especially the rich and powerful, who oppress the poor about their fate and judgment, while promising the righteous eternal life and divine protection. It wraps up in chapter 105 with blessings for the righteous and a call to wisdom, urging people to hold fast to God's laws. It's a moral pep talk with fiery edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and read the Noah section real quick. And then that's everything that I have on the Book of Enoch of the summaries of each book. The Noah section in the Book of Enoch is a short, fragmentary part that not as clearly defined as the other books, but it's significant for its focus on Noah and the flood narrative. It's mostly found in chapters 106 to 107, though some scholars include related bits from other parts. Here's a full rundown. It begins with the birth of Noah, describing him as unusually radiant and white haired, which freaks out his father, Lamech, who thinks he might not be human, but some divine or angelic being. Lamech asks his father, Methuselah, to check with Enoch, who's already been taken up to heaven. Enoch explains that Noah is indeed human, born to herald the coming flood as God's judgment on earth wickedness, especially the sins of the fallen angels and their offspring, the Nephilim. The section then touches on.
So was Noah Nephilim, or was he only
Um,
human?
he was only human.
Okay.
Let's see. Where was I at?
We're
Oh,
at
the
the
section
Nephilim.
then
You were
touches
talking about
on the flood itself, emphasizing it as a cleansing act, with Noah choosing to survive and restart humanity. It's less about detailed visions like the other books, and more a bridge between Enoch's prophecies and the Genesis flood story, reinforcing themes of divine justice and salvation. The text is incomplete, some parts are missing or unclear, but it's clear Noah's role is pivotal.
It's pivotal.
Yeah, pivotal. Thank you. Tying back to the early warnings about corruption, that's the gist. Short, but ties everything together.
Yeah, so basically, so that's probably why Christians believe it's fraudulent, by the way. It's the parts that are missing throughout the book. So it sounds like there's certain parts in the book that are missing. And people love to scream fraudulent once certain things are missing from books. It could be the script was missing, like the manuscript was just gone, or it could be that the book was never finished. You know what I mean? And basically there were other books that happened to also with, but some of those books we still consider just as good. Did we say it was a part of the Jewish Torah? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
Yeah, no, but no, I don't think it was either. And I grew up Jewish, so oh, okay. He said we didn't. Um, yeah, no, I don't think that it was anyways because I grew up Jewish and I actually was bar mitzvahed and went through Sunday school and learned all about the Torah. I learned too much to be honest. Too much, too much. And then also at the same time, I just felt learning how to speak Hebrew was fun, but a little time consuming. I never learned about Enoch. That's why I was so interested in Enoch. I of course learned about Moses, Noah, um, Jacob, Sarah, all the normal Bible, like the people mentioned in the Bible, for
Yeah.
sure.
And David.
Yeah, and David and Goliath and all of that, and
Samson.
Adam and Eve. Yeah.
Samson and Goliath.
So
But
we did have a couple of videos that you sent me tonight.
mhm. I believe I sent you 10, in fact. 10 or 9. I can't. I lost track.
No, we only have 6.
Hmm.
Oh, 7. We have 7.
Okay.
But here you go.
According
Here's
to
the
the
first.
Book of Enoch, demons aren't fallen angels. They're worse. Fallen angels called the Watchers slept with human women and gave birth to giants, the Nephilim. When those giants were destroyed, their souls were cursed to wander the earth forever. As demons, half angel, half human, fully damned. That's why demons hate you. You're living the life they lost.
And what they claim that's what's said in the Book of Enoch, that that's how the Nephilim was created. Fallen angels made it with
Fallen
human
angels slept
women,
with human women.
created Nephilim. Yeah,
Yeah.
and made the Nephilim.
Yep.
Okay.
the Book of Enoch, if you want to know the angels that sinned that he's talking about, they somehow developed a lust for human beings. Where does that come from? Right. What angels that sinned? How do angels sin? This entire but it's like little blips, because it seemed as though when this angelic DNA and human DNA got together, it created these literal abominations, things that weren't supposed to be here.
Especially the Book of Watchers. And what it really is it's an expose, it's an expounding upon Genesis 6. It fills in the story. Because Genesis 6 is 4 verses, right? And so what does this mean? What happened? And this is what happened. It names players, it names villains, it talks about the things that these fallen angels did, and they taught humanity.
But those concepts are only found, like, in the Book of Enoch. And so you can just glaze over it and be like, oh, we're not gonna talk about that in 1 Peter. We're not gonna talk about what Jude said. I think it's easier to kind of just go to the main points that most churches like to talk about.
What if the ancient Book of Enoch was actually talking about Antarctica? The Book of Enoch talks about a place called the ends of the earth, a land of eternal darkness, where fallen angels are imprisoned beneath massive ice-covered mountains, a place where the sun never rises or sets for months at a time. Sound familiar? Just like the long, dark winters of Antarctica, right? And get this, Enoch describes a prison deep within this icy land where 7 stars, symbolic of the Watchers, fallen angels, are chained beneath the frozen abyss, waiting for judgment. But how did Enoch, writing thousands of years ago, know about a place that wasn't officially discovered until 1820? It gets even crazier. There's an ancient map from 1513 called the Peary Race Map that shows parts of Antarctica's coastline without ice. Scientists have confirmed that the last time Antarctica's coast was ice-free was over 6,000 years ago. Some people think that there was a lost civilization there, maybe even one that predates humanity as we know it, destroyed and buried under ice when the climate changed. Could this be what Enoch was talking about? And don't even get me started on the Chilean expedition in 1947. They claim to have found artificial stone structures buried deep under the Antarctic ice, structures that didn't match any known human architecture. So, was Enoch actually talking about a lost world in Antarctica? A prison of fallen angels buried beneath miles of ice? Or could it be something even more sinister? This could be the reason why every government has agreed to keep people out. They tell us it's to protect the environment, but what if they're hiding something? Might be one of history's best kept secrets, and we're only just beginning to uncover it.
So that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thought. What if that really is going on in Antarctica?
I don't know. I found that today, and I just thought it was really interesting.
It said, JD said that's in the Bible as well. Fallen angels having children with human women. And Elm Street said one of the best series of the books of the Bible is called Ancient Secrets of the Bible. It has 26 episodes. Great series, 10 out of 10.
That is true.
I mean, it makes you wonder.
It does. The Antarctica theory is a weird one. Sorry, I knocked some crap over on the table. The Antarctica one is a crazy theory, like that would be an ice prison for the fallen angels, and that's why there's a treaty there. I've heard that it could possibly be the Garden of Eden, and I've also heard that it's what encapsulates everybody on a flat Earth. So who knows? But they're hiding something in Antarctica.
Yeah.
And this is one of the main reasons the Book of Enoch has been banned. In the text, Enoch describes in great detail the cosmic order. He tells us about the solar calendar and the orbit of celestial bodies. He tells us about the cycles of the seasons. And he tells us about the celestial beings that came from the stars to Earth. These sophisticated and specific details, combined with the story of beings coming to Earth and creating a new race, bear an undeniable resemblance to the stories about the Anunnaki mentioned in ancient Sumerian tablets. This fact has led experts to believe that the fallen angels known as Watchers are, in fact,
the same beings called the Anunnaki. The comparison of the Watchers to the Anunnaki is strengthened even more when we learn what happened after the Watchers imparted this forbidden knowledge onto humans. The Watchers looked down upon the earth. They witnessed lawlessness and bloodshed. Violence and corruption spread throughout the world. In the Book of Enoch, this is where God orders Uriel to go to Noah and warn him about the great flood, the flood that will destroy all life on earth, save for Noah and his family. This great flood is the same flood found in the story of the Anunnaki. Here the flood is divine retribution from God. But in the ancient Sumerian tablets, the flood was caused by the warming of the earth during the Anunnaki civil war. This civil war is represented symbolically in the Book of Enoch, when the archangel Gabriel incites the giants to fight each other until their mutual destruction. And this leads us to the next major reason the Book of Enoch has been kept secret. The next chapter in the book gives us a clue to the fate of the Watchers and, therefore, the fate of the Anunnaki. The book states that the fallen angels who had relations with human women and imparted forbidden knowledge to humankind were to be cast into a desolate place. They were to be placed in the desert and covered with rocks and darkness. There, the fallen angels would be imprisoned for 70 generations until the final judgment. This part of the story parallels the disappearance of the Anunnaki in the ancient tablets, where it is said that the Anunnaki found refuge in subterranean tunnels during the Great Flood. The Great Flood cleansed the earth of the evil and corruption caused by the interbreeding of the Watchers and humans. And after the flood, a time of peace was established. The earth was blessed with abundant flora and fauna. But this is only the beginning of Enoch's message. What follows is a vision of the realms of heaven and a prophecy foretelling the final judgment of all things. Enoch tells us of a vision in which he is summoned by clouds, mists, and stars, which carry him into heaven. There he arrives at a crystal palace surrounded by fire that burns with both fire and ice. Within this palace, he finds a throne, a crystal throne with wheels burning like the sun, shining brighter than the sun and whiter than snow. Experts in the study of the Anunnaki believe that Enoch wasn't taken to heaven, but instead was taken aboard a spaceship and shown other worlds. They believe Enoch was chosen to be the leader of the human race. They believe he was given knowledge of the Anunnaki's origin and their plan for humankind. And they believe he was tasked with keeping this knowledge secret from all except his bloodline. Some believe this chosen bloodline still maintains control of the world today through secret societies, advanced technologies, and strategic machinations. What do the secret chosen rulers want? What are they capable of? And how do they keep their manipulation of the masses secret from those of us enlightened enough to seek the truth? What else has been hidden from us? We'll explore that and more next time. Until then.
So how do you feel about the way that that's explained there? Because I don't really know how to take what that how he talked about the fact that most of the sects of Christianity don't take it as realism because of specific things that had to deal with the flood, and then he also called it a vision. He didn't say that Enoch was directly taken. He said that it was a vision of him being taken up to heaven. But they believed that he was actually taken up by an alien spacecraft. What are your thoughts about that, crew?
That's a lot to take in. That's hard to explain.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because here's the thing.
Jacob's Ladder is a great Bible story as well. I'd also say Antarctica is just as mysterious as Atlantis is to me. That's interesting. I think Atlantis is very mysterious.
Yeah.
How
Because
very.
here's the thing. Reason why it's so hard for me to comprehend and explain with the Book of Enoch is because it's, like I said, it's so complex. So there's so much into it that it makes your brain go to a point where you just can't. Like what you did to me when you did the first part, Tartaria.
The Bible says, taken from my understanding. I go with what the Bible says, is what JD says. Correct.
But that's where I'm at on that because it's hard to, it fried my brain when I first read it because there was so much into it, and like I was trying to wrap my mind about everything that it was saying, and I'm like, I couldn't think for days. It was fucking with me to the point where I just could not comprehend what it was saying.
Right. Well, do you think that an alien spacecraft is completely out of the is out of the question for Enoch to have been abducted, and that's what
Yeah.
happened? You think?
I believe that he was taken, but I don't know if it was by an alien spacecraft or whatever.
Right.
I believe he was more taken up in heaven. That's what I believe because
Mm,
that's what the Bible says.
yes, I
Right.
agree.
Okay. Just wanted to hear your thought on that.
Yeah.
Did you know that, according to the Book of Enoch, there exists a celestial being so powerful that he surpasses the archangels, cherubim, and even the seraphim? He is not just a messenger of God, but the leader of all the angels, seated beside the Almighty, where his light shines so intensely that few can withstand his presence. It is said that he was once a man, a chosen one, taken to heaven by God and transformed into this supreme being. His mission is to maintain the order of the heavens and record everything that happens in the universe. Even the angels bow before him, recognizing his authority and power. His name? Metatron.
And
Metatron.
Metatron is a real angel.
That sounds like Megatron.
I was
Metatron,
thinking the
okay.
same thing.
Okay, so remember
So he's a
Supernatural, the
fallen
show?
angel, or is he a normal angel?
I can't answer that one, but because I can't tell you. But remember the show Supernatural?
Yeah. Yeah.
Metatron's in the show, and everything that they just described, Metatron on the show is just like that.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna have to read into the Book of Enoch because I haven't read it. So the more that we talk about it, though, the more I get intrigued with it and want to know more about it and would actually
Right.
love and enjoy to read it at some point. I probably will. JD says if Elijah was taken by the chariot of fire in a whirlwind, I doubt a spaceship took Enoch. And then Elm Street said, "Have you ever heard of Rigveda?" Rigveda.
Mhm.
I have not. What is Rigveda? Metatron is a likely high-ranking angel in Jewish mysticism, Gnosticism, and Islam, often linked to the prophet Enoch. Researchers suggest he serves as a celestial scribe and mediator between God and humanity, with roles like guarding the tree of life. The evidence leans for Metatron being associated with the Book of Life and spiritual power, through interpretations vary across traditions. There is controversy around the exact origins and status of Metatron, with some viewing him as the highest angels and others debating his divine nature. Metatron is a fascinating figure in religious and mystical traditions, often considered one of the most powerful angels to ever have lived.
Oh, and the Rig Veda is an ancient Indian Vedic Sanskrit text that is considered one of the most sacred texts of Hinduism. It is a collection of
Yeah,
a thousand
Elm Street
suttas.
just said it's a Hindu book. And
Yeah.
Elm Street also said it tells a crazy story about fighting demons and ships, basically, and it's older than the Bible, some say. We might have to do a deep dive on the Rig Veda.
Okay.
The Book of Enoch explained a group of mysterious creatures that fallen angels created today. That's what we'll be covering in the Book of Enoch. You see, the Nephilim giants are not the only hybrid beings that were created. There were also mysterious crossbreeds between animals and humans. Let me explain. The Book of Enoch mentions how the 200 watchers experimented on humans and animals to create monstrous hybrid beings. The book reads, the 200 angels choose animals on which to perform unnatural acts, including presumably humans. 200 donkeys, 200 rams, 200 goats, 200 beasts from every animal, from every bird, from miscegenation. The outcome of the demonic corruption was violence, perversion, and a brood of monstrous beings. They defiled, they begot giants and monsters now. As we can see, the Book of Enoch referred to giants and monsters, meaning there were several different hybrids created during this time, but I really want to point out what it means when these angels gathered these animals for miscegenation. This means there was some sort of reproductive process conducted by the fallen angels, and they used animal and human DNA to accomplish their experiments regarding these twisted beings. These monstrous hybrid creatures have been documented by humanity, but is taken as mythology. But what if it's far more real than we think? The Bible tells us in the days of Noah, there were non-human hybrid creatures known as the Nephilim terrorizing humanity. Let's take a look back in time at some of the most popular half-human, half-animal hybrids documented throughout history. In Greek mythology, there is a being known as centaurs in Greek mythology. The centaurs are a race of creatures that are part horse and part man, dwelling in the mountains of Thessaly and Arcadia. This could very well be one of the outcomes of the Watchers' experiments in the Book of Enoch. This is how these creatures were created. According to Greek mythology, the centaurs were usually said to have been born of Ixion and Nephili. Ixion is a human and fathered these beings, whilst Nephili is a spiritual being. Doesn't this story sound familiar as the story goes? Nephili was a cloud made into the likeness of Hera in a plot to trick Ixion into revealing his lust for Hera to Zeus. Ixion seduced Nephilim, and from that relationship centaur were created. This is basically the same story of the fallen angels creating the hybrid beings through miscegenation. Miscegenation literally means reproduction through intimate relations. There are also other creatures in Greek mythology that are half human and half animal. They are known as sirens, although most people refer to sirens as mermaids. Now in Greek mythology, they are half bird, half human creatures. And as we know, the Book of Enoch said, the fallen angels took 200 of every bird to genetically manipulate them, which created hybrid creatures. One of the most renowned places in the world that speaks of these hybrid beings is none other than ancient Egypt. As we analyze the hieroglyphs, we see how the gods of Egypt are detailed. For example, Thoth, god of writing, wisdom, and magic, is depicted as having a bird head and a human-like body. Also, Horus has a similar appearance. As we look at the Egyptian gods, we begin to see nearly all of the gods are hybrids between animals and humans. My question is, were these hybrids worshipped as gods in ancient Egypt? I think it is possible that the creatures created by the fallen angels through miscegenation were worshipped as gods alongside the fallen angels. Since the fallen angels could have just passed the advanced spiritual knowledge to their offspring, making them indistinguishable from an angelic being themselves. As far as spiritual wisdom, one thing we must acknowledge is that the fallen angels in heaven wanted to be worshipped as gods, and they were casted to earth and were being worshipped as gods, along with their offsprings perhaps. Some of these beings are still alive today, which is why creatures such as the Mothman have allegedly been spotted. Mothman in West Virginia, folklore, is a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15, 1966. He looks like he's partially a giant moth and partially a man. Two young couples fled the local woods, claiming they'd seen a terrifying creature. They recounted their story to the sheriff. and reported that the entity looked human, in most respects except for its 10-foot wings and glowing red eyes. Mysterious beings that are believed to exist but haven't been proven to exist have been labeled as cryptids, and these cryptid creatures have been spotted all over the world. However, there is something very important I want to point out about these creatures. They all have something in common for the most part. They all seem to look like hybrid creatures, which is why I made the comparison between the hybrids in the Book of Enoch and these mysterious cryptid creatures. The Bible did mention in Genesis 6:4 how the biblical hybrids existed before the Great Flood, and also after. From this verse, we can further imply that a possible reason we're seeing these cryptid creatures is because they survived the flood. The Great Flood was actually meant to remove these abominations, not necessarily humans. God just knew in order to cleanse the earth, he needed to remove all of the corruption as a whole. These creatures are also known as abominations. God did not intend for these beings to exist, which is why most of them were eradicated, even if we still see small signs of their existence. It's nowhere near as bad as it was in the days of old. These hybrid creatures were terrorizing humanity, and they are even described in the Book of Enoch as demonic beings. The spirits of the hybrids who perished in the Great Flood became what we now call demons. Perhaps this is why demonic creatures such as Baphomet look like a half-human, half-animal hybrid. Actually, now that I think about it, almost every demon that is depicted are all some kind of animal-human hybrid, mainly a crossbreed between a bull and a human. Let me know what you think about that segment in the comment section below. This is the conclusion to this video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Epic Truth Seekers community for even
That is very interesting. And the ancient Egyptian narrative there with saying that the ancient Egyptians worshiped gods that were all half human, half animal hybrids, and that technically what is referred to in the Book of Enoch as some of these atrocities that God wanted to cleanse from the earth. That's very interesting. I've also heard the ancient Egyptian gods being called Nephilim, or even possibly the Anunnaki themselves. So I find that to be extremely interesting when it comes to ancient Egyptian lore and like the Anunnaki, and it's weird how it ties in with the Book of Enoch in that aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold pause on videos. The Bible talks about God having angels that look part human or animal, so that doesn't mean that humans and animal demon mixes are only bad guys. And then Elm Street said, I think God has proven many times over the world needs to change by wiping out dinosaurs, and that's not only mass extinction, but it was based on the size of the animals. Oh no, you're good, JD. We only have one more video for tonight. So let's hit it.
The Book of Enoch describes 10 different levels of heaven. Enoch was taken to each heaven by an archangel, and Enoch witnessed what each level of heaven housed. Some of the beings in the higher realms of heaven frightened Enoch so much that he fell down in terror. In this video, I will be explaining every level of heaven described in the Book of Enoch. A quick disclaimer. My ultimate goal is to turn you all to the Most High. I do not want any of you praising angels or any other heavenly figure, but only the one true God. All right, now that that's out of the way, it's time to get into the 10 levels of heaven, the beginning of Enoch chosen by God. The Book of Enoch reads, There was a wise man and a great artisan whom the Lord took away, and he loved him so that he might see the highest realms and the most wise, great, inconceivable, and unchanging kingdom of God Almighty, and of the most marvelous, glorious, shining, many-eyed station of the Lord's servants, and of the Lord's immovable throne, and of the ranks and organization of the body armies, and of the indescribable composition of the multitude of elements, singing of the army of the cherubim, and of the light without measure. To be an eyewitness, this verse explains how the Lord viewed Enoch as such a great human that he took him to heaven while he was still alive. The only other person to go to heaven while still alive is the prophet Elijah. Enoch meets angels. Enoch himself explains the encounter he had with the angels that took him to heaven. He details how he first had a dream about these beings coming into his room, and when he opened his eyes, they were actually standing there. Enoch describes, "And I lay on my bed sleeping, and while I slept, a great distress entered my heart, and I was weeping with my eyes in a dream. I could not figure out what this distress might be or what might be happening to me. Then two huge men appeared to me, the likes of which I had never seen on earth. Their faces were like the shining sun, their eyes were like burning lamps, and from their mouths fire was coming forth. Their clothing was various, singing, and their wings were more glistening than gold. Their hands were whiter than snow, and they stood at the head of my bed and called me by my name. Then I awoke from my sleep and saw those men standing in front of me in reality. I bowed down to them, terrified, and the appearance of my face was changed because of fear. Then those men said to me, 'Be brave, Enoch, do not fear. The eternal God has sent us to you, and behold, you will ascend with us to heaven.' First heaven. The first heaven is directly above the firmament, above the earth. The firmament is a dome-shaped structure that covers the earth, as described in the Bible. We can also see this early depiction of the firmament in several ancient cultures. Enoch describes seeing a huge body of water, much larger than any ocean on earth. God says in the Bible that there is water above the firmament. Genesis 1:7 says, "And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so." Enoch explains, "And they took me up onto their wings, carried me up to the first heaven, and placed me on the clouds. Behold, they were moving, and there I perceived the air higher up, and higher still I saw the ether. They placed me on the first heaven and showed me a vast ocean, much bigger than the earthly ocean." Enoch goes on to explain seeing a mysterious group of figures known as the elders and 200 angels who govern the stars. Second heaven. The second heaven is eerily similar to hell, but it is for fallen angels known as the Watchers. Enoch describes seeing a darkness greater than any earthly darkness, and prisoners in the second heaven awaiting judgment. Enoch asks an angel why they were in prison, and the angel replies, "I said to the men who were with me, 'Why are these ones being tormented unceasingly?' Those men answered me, 'These are those who turned away from the Lord, who did not obey the Lord's commandments, but of their own will plotted together and turned away with their prince and those who are under restraint.' Third heaven. The third heaven is a paradise for the righteous. The righteous will inherit this heaven for their good deeds. However, there is also another side of this heaven, very similar to hell." Enoch explains, "And those men took me from there and brought me up to the third heaven and set me down. Then I looked downward and saw paradise. That place is inconceivably pleasant. I saw the trees in full flower, and their fruits were ripe, giving off a pleasant fragrance, with every food yielding profusely. In the midst of them was the tree of life, more beautiful than any other created thing." Enoch continues, describing the rivers of honey, milk, oil, and wine, which divide into parts and flow around the earth, blessing the land. He is told by the angels that this place is prepared for the righteous, those who suffer, help others, and walk righteously before the Lord. The northern hell. Enoch is then taken to the northern region of this heaven, which he describes as a frightful place. He sees a river of fire in a place of torment. The angels tell him this place is for those who don't glorify God, particularly for those who practice witchcraft, steal, and deceive others. Fourth heaven. The fourth heaven is where the solar and lunar tracks are. Enoch describes seeing the sun's rays, which are 7 times greater than the moon's, and the sun's movements that go by with remarkable speed. He also sees 4 great stars, each with 1,000 stars under it, accompanying the sun. Fifth heaven. The fifth heaven is where the Watchers, also known as the Grigori, reside. These angels, who had children with human women and created the Nephilim, are described as human-like but giant in comparison. Sixth heaven. The sixth heaven has 7 groups of angels, who are described as extremely bright beings, brighter than the sun. These angels study the stars, the sun's revolution, and the well-being of the cosmos. They ensure order and carry out the commandments and instructions of God. Seventh heaven. The seventh heaven is so frightening to Enoch that he trembles with fear. He sees fiery armies of archangels, cherubim, seraphim, dominions, and many-eyed thrones. The sight of God's most powerful angels fills Enoch with terror. Eighth and ninth heavens. The eighth heaven is called Muth, the changer of seasons, and is associated with the 12 zodiacs. The ninth heaven is called Kavim, where the heavenly houses of the 12 zodiacs reside. 10th heaven. The 10th and final heaven is where God himself resides. Enoch describes God's face as resembling iron made in burning hot fire. His face emits sparks and is supremely awesome and frightening. The armies of cherubim and seraphim sing praises to God in this heaven. Enoch is anointed with spiritual oil, and his earthly clothing is removed. When he looks at himself, he realizes he is no different than the angels in heaven.
Wow. So 10 heavens.
Mm-hmm.
Street says it's crazy to think that people in those times thought the world went on forever and wasn't round. Must have been endless thought about what's there in those times for sure. Endless mystery. And then also to say, like, there were kind of adjacent hells to certain heavens.
Yep.
That was interesting.
It was.
So where do the normal people end up? They end up in the righteous heaven? Is that where they end up? Is that like heaven number 4? Where people who walk in the righteousness of God end up in? It's just, that's heaven 4, right?
I believe so, yeah.
I wonder if Dante Algaria or Al-Gahiri got inspiration from the Book of Enoch. Was that Dante's Inferno? Or who is Dante? Like, am I being dumb here? Okay, yeah, Dante's Inferno. Okay. Yeah, no. Probably, actually. Could have gotten a lot of inspiration from the Book of Enoch. But also, it's like the 7 deadly sins too was Dante's Inferno.
Right.
Man, that story is freaking crazy. Did you ever play those games, crew? Dante's Inferno?
Yeah.
Elm Street says there's no evidence to suggest he did, but someone like Shakespeare learned from Dante. Sure, interesting stuff tonight. We had such a crazy show tonight, man.
Yeah, we did.
So I'm a person who believes doesn't believe Shakespeare wrote all his plays. Yes, we went over this before. I don't either. I don't think he wrote all of his plays either.
There were probably people that tried to write for him after he died. Maybe they found some of his work.
Oh, I think it was a group of people. I think it was like
Yeah.
Shakespeare was probably a real person, but there was a group of people who all wrote under his name, who wrote under the pseudonym Shakespeare.
Yeah, because I kind
Regardless
of
of
heard
who was
that
doing
before. So I wouldn't put it past it.
Elm Street, yeah, we did, I know. Even Mark Twain believed he was a puppet. Yeah, Mark Twain's interesting too, for sure. Mark Twain was crazy.
Yeah.
Not one Shakespeare letter survives, and he never wrote his name the same twice. Yes, that one's very weird. That fact about Shakespeare never writing his name the same way twice.
Yeah.
Very weird. But anyways, what was your favorite part of the show tonight, Julie?
Uh, the last video was very interesting.
Made you feel certain ways when you
It
learn about
does.
when you learn about the different heavens and what could possibly be there, and waiting around about how the Nephilim and like the fallen angels all have different sects of heavens that they go to, and they all have adjacent hells that they consider prisons. Crazy,
Yeah, and
right? Like,
then
that's such an interesting thing.
the one video reminded me a little bit of that movie Avatar.
Which video was that?
The one with the cat-like looking
Yeah,
people.
the AI
They said
video.
that, yeah,
Those are interesting. I like the way they build those videos, though.
me too.
I'm straight. All I'm saying is I better not live here in this damn earth for all these years just to be recycled and have nothing at the end. Laugh my ass off. I feel that way too. Like I'm just like, man, I better not have put all of this work into this life for absolutely nothing. Like I hope there's an afterlife. Um, if we do get recycled back into like the ground or whatever, and our energy just becomes part of the universe again, then I mean that's fine too, as long as my energy goes somewhere. I'm cool with it. I need my energy to go somewhere. I have a very hard time believing that we just die and that's the end. I think death is a new beginning. Elm Street, like if I see a UFO right now, I'm going up with it. Might as well. Hey, dude, I'm right there with you. I really am. I'm right there with you. If a UFO comes and says, "Hey, jump on in, let's go," I'm just gonna drop what I'm doing and I'm gonna call my wife and I'm gonna be like, "Hey, I may or may not be back. I have one chance of a lifetime, and I'm hopping on this ship and I'm taking it. I'm sorry." No, but if a UFO did come down, man, that would be a hard decision. I probably would like want to go though. I'd want to see what they could show me. Would you go, crew? Would you hop up in the UFO and go with the aliens?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
What about you, Julie? Would you hop up in the UFO and go with the aliens?
Nah, I believe in Jesus. When he comes back, I'll go with him.
Elm Street, all we know it's some Matrix thing that one corrupt alien has some uprising happening bringing humans. Maybe. Creepiness. All right, guys. Well, that's our show tonight. I hope everybody had fun. I hope everybody learned something. And if you enjoyed what you saw, please like the video, share it, and subscribe to us. If not, that's cool too. We love all of you, and we hope you have a great night. Talk to y'all later from the Robert and Crew Show. Peace out. And have a good night.
If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.